Deep Dive Film School makes no claim of ownership of the film footage used in this episode. The film footage is owned entirely by the copyright holders. Also, we're going to spoil the hell out of this movie, so this is your warning. Welcome to Deep Dive Film School!
Oh, this week we're going to get into a punishment review. It's been a while since we did one of these. We're going to do 1990 Warren Beatty film, Dick Tracy.
Ooh, let's dive on in, everybody. All right, everybody, I am Adam Sherlock.
And I'm Adam Palcher.
And if you like what you see /here, please like and subscribe. You can find us on all the spaces and places that people, what, Adam?
Find comic book adaptation media.
That's right. At least some of the time. Some of the time we do that. Obviously, we did our No Capes Festival.
Yes.
We were trying to think, like, what could this fifth movie be? And we thought, you know what? A punishment review is due.
It is due.
And Dick Tracy, 1990s.
You came up with this.
Dick Tracy.
I'm happy you did. I'm excited to talk about it, and I have no clue if people actually think this is a good movie or not.
I don't either. That's what's really weird. Is while I was watching it, I was like, "Are we gonna get like bashed online where people are like, how dare you? How dare you say that?" Yeah, like maybe I don't know.
Yeah,
well,
your
wife is one of them.
Yeah, your wife is one of them, and I want to hear her stories.
Although she also is like, I don't need to watch it again. And I'm like, wait, I thought you said it was a great movie. She's like, man, I'm not gonna watch it.
Movies like that. But also, when was the last time you heard anyone say anything? Until you uttered the words Dick Tracy to me, I was just like, I haven't even thought about that movie for 30 years.
It's that idea of like, you don't truly die until the last person never utters your name again, sure. Right? And it's like,
alive.
I just kept this movie alive all of a sudden. Well, okay, so
any press is good press.
Right? That is right. I mean, the year is 1990. Really, we had the year before is Batman, which if you were not alive in 1989 or you were too young to remember,
biggest thing ever.
Massive. Yeah. I mean, it was like, holy shit, you can actually do this. You can make a movie. I mean, at the time, if you watch,
especially for teenage boys.
Yeah, but if you watch that Batman now, like, it's super cheesy. But at the time, it was like gritty and like, whoa, it was considered to be like, this is if it was in the real world. And Warren Beatty was like, I'm going to grab a hold of that lightning and put it right back in the bottle for my movie.
To the point where he hired Danny Elfman.
Yep.
The music is very similar. Yeah. I think a lot of the backdrops look very similar to Gotham City in that version, Tim Burton version. I actually was thinking, this reminds me of the Tim Burton version. But no, what it reminds me of is the shitty Schumacher version of Batman.
Or just that, like, it's that folly of the late 80s and early 90s kind of post Roger Rabbit of like, we can do anything with special effects. We can do whatever we want.
Can have a cartoon.
It all looks real.
Cool World just came out with Brad Pitt.
And I was thinking about Cool World. And the map paintings in this.
Yeah, it looks good.
And the miniatures, like, it's cool. Like, that's very charming. It's everything
just because this is a punishment review doesn't mean we can't give it some compliments.
No, I'm sure that there was stuff I liked about Mac and me.
His walkie-talkie watch was ahead of its time.
It totally was. Although I have to say that the very first moment that we meet him, it's on and it's bothering people at the opera that he's at. I'm like, turn off your phone, Dick.
He's an important guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Part of the problem with this movie, why is he an important guy? He's not a good detective.
Also, who is this movie for?
Oh, God. Endlessly, who is this movie for?
It's rated PG.
Were kids clamoring for a Dick Tracy? Was Dick Tracy huge before this movie came out?
1990. I'm 11 years old, about the same age as the kid.
Yeah.
This seems like if this was for kids, like, I remember being like, oh, that looks cool. But again, that was 30 plus years ago. And thinking, I'm sure I saw it, but it wasn't something that, it wasn't Karate Kid. It wasn't Back to the Future that I'm watching constantly over and over and over again. It was not some special heartfelt movie to me, so It's really funny doing a punishment review of a movie like this that was nominated for 7 Oscars, by the way.
Was it really?
Yes. Did you not know this?
I didn't.
Yes, 7.
7?
So a few things here. This was the year that Godfather 3 came out.
Okay.
And that had lots of nominations too, just to give you a pulse of Hollywood around it.
Okay.
Also the year that Dances with Wolves and Goodfellas came out.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And, at some point, I believe that Tim Burton, Scorsese, who ended up going to do Goodfellas, thank you, ended up doing Spielberg, and Bob Fosse, of all people, were supposed to direct this movie at some point.
Oh, my God. I want to see...
No one likes Warren Beatty.
Yeah.
And so they all said no and went and did their own shit. But, okay, so...
And he only said he would direct if he could also play Dick Tracy.
Yeah, and I think Elfman is quoted as saying, he's insane. I have a quote here.
For the lead singer of Oingo Boingo to say that someone else is insane is like, that's big, man.
That's funny. All right, so nominated with 7 Oscars, won 3 Oscars.
For what?
Okay.
Oh, God.
Art direction.
Okay.
Music. Probably some Madonna stuff in there, I assume.
Yeah.
She wrote a song for it.
Yeah.
I think it was something like that. Makeup. Don't agree with this one. Don't agree with this
Makeup.
It won an Academy Award.
We're going to cut right now to a picture of Tiny Face and go. Because when you see, and it happens super early in this movie, you see Tiny Face, and like that's when
he's barely in it.
That's the moment where I'm like...
So that's the first 5 minutes of the movie.
My seatbelt comes unbuckled, and I realize that I'm weightless, and I start floating around the cabin, and I'm like, can you please let me down? I need to get down.
So it lost on costume design.
Oh.
I mean, if you're going to give it makeup, you might as well give it costume design.
Yeah, you might as well go whole hog all the way in.
I'll give it this. It looks like the comic, but like the overuse of colors and everything got a little too much. But it did have a Tim Burton-esque feel to it. Cinematography, it lost, but it was nominated.
That's fine.
And then Al Pacino as Best Supporting Actor lost.
No, fuck you. Really?
He got nominated for this role.
Who nominated him?
Hoo-ah! I don't know.
Oh my God. Dude, it is like...
The Academy.
First of all, I don't know if you read this, that Al Pacino initially declined credit for the film, and he wanted to work under a pseudonym. The pseudonym was going to be Guido Frascati. And I'm like, first of all, who would possibly believe that that's not Al Pacino? Who would possibly be like, really, Al Pacino? That was really Al Pacino? Of course it's Al Pacino! It's like someone doing a horrible impression of Al Pacino. It's the worst thing ever. And all he does is scream.
The whole time.
Screams through the entire movie.
So let me ask you.
Oh my God.
How is this performance different than what he does in, say, something like Heat?
Well,
because he's screaming. He's got a great ass.
Yeah, because I mean, part of it is the latex.
This is coming from someone who absolutely is endeared with Al Pacino. I love him very much.
I love him very much too. But dude,
this is some Jack and
Jill
he's
shit. Like, yes. He's like, have a taste of my chocolate blend. Yeah, he's doing that whole thing. But it's like. It's all the latex that he's in, and you know what it is? And I've talked about this before on this show, of the feeling when someone really thinks they're being funny, that actually makes whatever they're doing less funny because they think that they're being funny, right? So that like nod and a wink to the camera... When first of all, like...
I don't think he thinks he's being funny.
No, I definitely think he thinks he's being funny. So, okay, all right. So let's...
Is this a comedy?
Let's go in... I mean, so let's get into this a little bit. So what we have here is we have Big Boy, which is Al Pacino's character. We have Big Boy, and Big Boy has... 2 gangs that are taken out in the first 5 minutes of this movie. One of them is
Big Boy Caprice.
Yeah, Big Boy Caprice, and there's Littleface and his group where they're just hanging out and gambling, but apparently they're bad dudes because they all get murdered in the first like minute of this movie. And then after that we have Lips, which is like maybe one of the most pornographic looking characters I've seen in a movie this side of a Cronenberg film. Like, just like the longest livery fleshy lips on this guy, who's just, when it cuts to like beautiful late 80s early 90s Madonna in like this painted on dress, and she's doing this number, and you're like, yeah. And then we cut to, I don't even know who it is. It's Paul Sorvino, isn't it? That plays lips.
Oh no, is it?
I think it is. I think it's Paul Sorvino. I might be wrong, but it might as well be underneath all that latex.
The amount of generational actors that do terrible shit in this movie is mind-blowing.
Yeah, actually, and that was one of my critiques of Cats. I was like, why did you do that to all these great actors? But this is worse. This is more heavy hitters than Cats.
So back in the 90s, looking at Sherlock now and thinking back in the 90s, it's like, oh, I got this great movie you've never seen before. It's got Al Pacino in it.
Yeah.
It's got Dustin Hoffman. One of the only times they worked together. Warren Beatty, Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah. Okay.
He went on to Mandy Patinkin.
Oh, I love Mandy Patinkin.
He's the best, right?
He's great.
Kathy Bates is in this.
Oh, that's amazing.
Dick Van Dyke, the legend.
Yeah, this is one of his.
Legends.
I think. Yeah, he's getting
Catherine
old.
O'Hara is in this from Schitt's Creek and everything. She has a cameo, and then Al Pacino's buddy and brother, James Caan, is also in this.
Caan is in this.
So what? But the movie is Dick Tracy. It's a movie.
Yeah.
That is Hollywood producer's version of The Mob, written by somebody who's never been in The Mob. Because the makeup mostly is the bad guys, right? Yeah. It's so they seem exaggerated. And I know there's a comic this is based on. Obviously, that's kind of why we're doing this to a degree.
But there's no. They look like Garbage Pail Kids. Like, there's nothing like just because you're like, oh yeah, this is a prune face guy. You're like, yeah, but within the realm of any semblance of reality, how can you have everyone should look insane? Like, it shouldn't just be a handful of bad guys.
Some people,
right? Yeah. Like, the kid should have like a crazy pointy nose, like
there's like one person in the media that has an obviously like oversized nose, but other than that, like I did not see anyone that wasn't
just
a bad
the
guy.
bad guys.
Yeah.
And it is the weird where you're like, okay, so is this like
it's easy for the police to know who to arrest?
Yeah, I'm like, well, and like, do you like if like when Prune Face was a kid, were they like, oh man, he's got to join the mob because he looks like shit, and he's got to be a bad guy.
William Forsythe has that kind of like triangular head. And there's a moment, and we need to snapshot this for film history.
Okay. Of
him and Al Pacino at a birthday party, and they both have birthday hats on, but he has this birthday hat on this square head. And I'm like, that is the stupidest. I know you're at a party with adults in the bar that's some speakeasy.
Like, none of this makes any sense. Well, and it's like, and that's like, that is definitely one of those things where I was like, what made anyone think like, yeah, this is really going to work. Like, this is like they saw all of the crazy masks, because you know that they had to have been at like whatever version, whatever Warren Beatty's version of Industrial Light and Magic is, and they had all of like the latex heads up, and they were like looking at him, and he was like, "Yep, this is it. This is the vision."
I think you make a great point at the beginning about this is like after post Roger Rabbit.
Oh yeah.
And that, so, yes, this was the 90s. Film wasn't quite to where it is now, and so it's easy to step back and be like, oh, that's silly. But for the time, it was innovative. Looking back does not age. Again, when was the last time anyone had said the words Dick Tracy to you?
Yes.
So, I don't know. It was deemed too racy at the time for a Disney release.
That's
so
right,
they sold it to Touchstone Pictures. Yeah. And I don't know if you know this. One, there is 30 minutes that got cut out. There's a 2-hour and 15-minute version of this somewhere.
Oh, God.
It's in Beatty's attic somewhere.
Yeah, on Laserdisc.
And also, the character design for Big Boy Caprice had to, and he would only do it if he could design it. Al Pacino designed the whole character. And it's very different than what's actually in the comic strip as far as
because he was a big fat guy, the Big Boy Caprice,
and he just more
Big
made
Boy. But here's the thing.
But
so
you could, Al Pacino can just be like, hey, I'm just gonna design this.
I'm
character.
gonna do it myself. Yeah,
and
they're like, I don't know. He wants to be in the movie, and so he's gonna do this.
30 minutes. The production company has to get cut out. So there's 30 more minutes added to this.
I can't even imagine what that could be. Because again, to go back to this idea of like Big Boy Caprice being funny, like he is this killer that we meet in the first couple of scenes, but then he gets lips, right? That's Madonna, or no, not Lips. What's her name?
Breathless Mahoney.
Breathless.
Yeah.
Lips was her old boss who gets killed.
With the cement. He gets poured in the cement.
Which again, it's like, there's nothing really clever about that. It's just like, oh, I'm going to kill you. Sign over your club to me. Now it's my club. And she works for me now.
This scene where he's like prepping the girls, like, okay,
that's what I don't get. That I'm like, why is he also the art direction for the dance choreography for the club? That's where he's being funny and screaming and waddling around his big old ass.
Not funny.
And I'm like, it is so painfully embarrassing.
So you think he thinks he's trying to be funny there?
Al Pacino or the character?
Al Pacino.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
But it's all well, and the thing is, he's talking nonstop to any time that.
And also, you signed the deed 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
What the fuck do you care about? How did you even get these girls to get ready to dance and perform in 15 minutes?
Yeah. Anytime that the movie cuts
Come
back
on, girls,
to him,
no, keep it going now.
Here's the problem. Half of it's fucking ADR. Half of it's shit they did later, like when they were doing the edits, and they were like, we need more Pacino just yammering off his stupid one-liners. Like, did I ever tell you that I'm a philosopher? Because I'm a philosopher. And you're like, I can see him. His mouth is not moving in that scene.
In the future, that ends up working great for him, but not here.
Oh my God. And it never ends. It's like
He did get nominated for an Oscar. So let's rear back a little bit.
Oh my God. Why were we supposed to care about any of this? Why were children supposed to care about any of this? Yeah. Right? Because here's the thing. So were kids supposed to be excited about Warren Beatty, action star?
Your wife was.
Were kids supposed to be worried that Tess was going to leave Dick? Were they supposed to be concerned about that? Because that's a big part of like the dramatic hinge of this movie, right? Were kids supposed to clamber to the Sam Goody for the soundtrack after hearing the fucking Stephen Sondheim duet, What You Can Lose, sung by Madonna and Mandy Patinkin?
The duet no one asked for that we still got.
That apparently was also nominated for an Oscar.
I don't know if that's exactly what got nominated, but the music did get,
Like, they're like, kids, we really need kids to get in on the soundtrack of this. So you know who we're going to need? Mandy Patinkin and Stephen Sondheim. That's who we're going to need because the kids love Sondheim. Like, it is so...
You know Inigo Montoya?
Yeah. Let's put him in a bald cap with like a hard part. Like, it is the weirdest thing. And then on top of that, Warren Beatty does not look like he's enjoying himself at all. He looks so irritated to be in this movie.
He does fine though. I think he's actually one of the few things that isn't eye rolling through.
Oh, I think he looks tired and irritated in every scene. He's giving off like
is that a character thing?
I don't know if it is, but he's giving off like a Harrison Ford vibe, like he just wants to be left alone.
I can see that. Well, yeah, he's directing it. He should care a little bit. He does have a great line where he says, "Fingerprint those walnuts."
That's right.
Walnuts are a clue in this movie. So,
and his name is Dick, and he wants somebody to find fingerprints on the walnuts. It's a little on the nose.
I think by far, it's not even a competition, even with Pacino. The most embarrassing performance in this has to be Dustin Hoffman. As Mumbles.
Oh yeah, it's really bad.
Did Warren Beatty owe Warren Beatty a favor or something?
Well, I mean, they were both in Ishtar.
Yeah,
I don't know whose fault that one was.
But one, you have a generational actor who's not actually talking.
Yeah,
he's like, and you're supposed to like translate through what he's doing, but he's just sitting in the corner being mumbles and you're talking on your brother. I'm like, what are you doing? Again, and then secondly...
Is that supposed to be funny?
I don't know.
That's
None of it was. Understand. I didn't laugh at this
movie. Made fucking action figures of these characters.
That's right. And
they made action figures. Yeah, there's bed sheets. My wife had some. I don't understand it. Again, they were like,
it had to be trying to appeal.
They were like, merchandise. Mm-hmm. We've got to get this merchandise here. So yeah.
I mean, there is a kid in the movie. His name's the Kid.
The Kid.
And all he does is eat. And he says, when do we eat? When do we eat? As he's eating. And he says, the bottomless pit. That is Jack from Hook.
That's right.
And he's also, he was in a movie called Little Big League. He's in a bunch of random stuff.
Was he in Can't Hardly Wait?
No.
Oh, I thought that he was also
see why
the
you would
nerd
think
kid.
it would be him.
Okay. But yeah, I don't, again, yeah, I'm like, okay, so there's the Kid, and technically I guess the Kid was also in the comic strip or whatever. But again, like, we don't, like, any child who went to see this movie in 1990 had no frame of reference for what Dick Tracy, the comic strip, was, or knowing that all the bad guys were caricatures. So it just looked like that there was this fairly dull, annoyed adult who has a yellow jacket on, who like sometimes has a gun, but he's not really like a good fighter, and he's not a detective. Like, he has a watch that's a radio, and he's fighting a group of like slimy monster men.
Mobster men.
No, monster men. They're monsters. If you have no frame of reference, if you have no context for like, oh, these were caricatures from the comic strip, you're just like, they're monster people.
Oh, those are the bad guys.
Yeah, it's a Secret of the Ooze kind of thing. Like, well, apparently there was like toxic waste spilled in this city, which makes all the cars glow neon green, disgusting green and yellow, and this guy's jacket glows yellow too, and it turned all the bad guys into monster men. And I have the bed sheets.
That would make more sense.
It really would. It would be like the Mario Brothers movie. You're like, I don't know why, why does Dennis Hopper have like a long lizard tongue? And you're like, it's fine. I don't know. Toxic waste probably is the 90s. That's the excuse for a lot of monsters in movies.
We also have this other character throughout the whole movie who is faceless.
The Blank.
The Blank, that's the name. I couldn't remember it off the top of my head. And the twist at the end was not something I remembered with The Blank, which was, I guess, refreshing to a degree. But,
just
the whole time you're just
like watching the movie like this, totally nonplussed, and then the twist happens, and you went, oh, well, I didn't see that coming.
Nope. That's pretty much what happened. And there's some weird machismo shit through this movie, right? Like, for sure, just Dick Tracy. Like, I think at one point he tells the kid to brush his teeth, and he's like, "Well, you're a pansy. Like, brushing your teeth is a pansy move.
It means you're gay.
Yeah,
if you dental hygiene means you're gay.
But just completely ridiculous. The shakedown scene where they flip the tables and turn the walls, and like, all they're not a speakeasy anymore, kind of thing. But Tracy's smarter than them, and he actually plants a bug. And I don't know what it is with this scene, but once, obviously they go on this rampage and are in.
Yeah, we get this montage.
And shakedowns all over the city.
It's like he's reading my mind.
Yeah, and then they see something. I think something drips or something through there. But Pacino's face and the way he's moving is like, I'm just like, what are you doing?
No, he looks like a monster. Like he looks like a gargoyle.
And again, it's a good point, and I hadn't thought about it. But yeah, are they trying to be funny?
That's what I don't understand.
Is this billed as a comedy? Because I didn't laugh once.
No, and also, like, is it supposed to
Madonna looked great, though.
Is it supposed to be interesting or exciting? Because I'm like, yeah, he planted a bug. Like, that happens all the time. Like, in stories, that happens all the time. Like, somebody's listening in on you. Like, that can't be, like, that's the thing that makes everybody be like, I know they think that he murdered all those cops, but get Tracy out of jail. He's the only one who can what?
Well,
the only one with a radio watch? Like, the only one who can plant a bug? Like, what?
The same thing happens with Big Boy Caprice, the Pacino character, at the end. I feel the same way, because he's gone through, killed all these people, broken all these laws, stolen all this shit.
Yeah.
Like, ideally, that's what's happened through what we've seen through these montages. And then Tracy traps him in a room where it makes it look like he kidnapped Tess, and he's like, "Oh no, I'm not being framed for that."
Yeah,
it's just you're like, just like, that's the thing you're worried about.
One?
You did like 10 times worse things.
Yeah. And then it goes on
to the point where he has to chase her and he steals her and they go over the bridge, all that stuff.
And that's where it's just like, it's like 20 minutes of Pacino riffing in ADR.
It's not so much that I have to hurt someone. It's just, don't make me do it! It's the city! They'll never find me! Can you hear its beat? Oh, the rhythm! Happy New Year, city! You'll pay for this. You're gonna pay for this.
Right? To what's the actress's name? Glenn Headley. He's just riffing to Glenn Headley through that whole thing where he's just like, I really like you. I don't know if I told you that before, but I really do. And I'm kind of a philosopher. You know, did you ever know what Nietzsche said about blah, blah, blah?
He's always quoting.
It's just going. But you're like, that's not really who you were earlier. Like, why is that what's happening in this? Because nothing else was interesting in this really lame action sequence, which I have to say, a perfect object lesson of how stupid this movie is can be encapsulated in the one scene where they're like, we got to go up to the roof. And they're like, well, Dick says we got to go up to the roof. And they go up to the roof, and then Dick jumps down, and now he's trapped inside because there's no ladder to get back up onto the roof.
Yeah,
and so, like,
the scene.
We sit with this scene for three minutes of this movie. Well,
in the original cut, it was
14 minutes.
20, yeah.
And he's like, how much do you weigh there, Bill? And he's like, I don't know, about 215 or whatever. He's like, I want you to jump down on this, and then I'm going to pop back up onto the roof. And I'm like, what are we doing? This is the action sequence in this movie that children are supposed to enjoy? Watching two adult men, like, talk about how much each other weighs? I couldn't figure it out. And then he gets up onto the roof, and then he runs across the roof, and then the cops down below go, it's Tracy! And I'm like, yeah, the other cop
been up there the
springboarded him up there, and now he's on the roof, which doesn't do any good because the bad guys are getting away. I was like, oh my God, this is making me so fucking tired.
That is an odd scene to throw in the middle of a action comedy.
That's the action sequence. It is the weirdest.
Do you know, is there some historical reference to his obsession with chili in this movie? I don't know if you realize he's eating it out of a can in multiple scenes. He gets served it at the diner that they eat at all the time.
I mean, I feel like
and then he comments to the guy who owns the place who cooked the chili, like, how shitty it is.
Yeah, you got monkeys in the back making this or whatever. Yeah, he says all this crazy. And I guess I have to be fair here that in my opinion, the Tess Trueheart / Dick Tracy, their conversations with each other, I just hated. And the reason why is because I hate that sort of like 1950s gangster James Cagney, like 23 Skidoo kind of. I just fucking hate it. There's nothing about that that's ever charming to me, even in movies. Like noir movies from that era, I'm always like, okay, just let's get to the story.
Even Oscar-nominated films
like Dick Tracy. I just don't like it. There's nothing about that it's like even the kid being like, hey, Tracy. I'm like, ew, shut up.
Hey,
like,
he got the girl in the end, okay?
Well, and then what's the whole thing, like what's the breathless thing between the two of them, which also... You know, she's in the movie because they were dating in real life, right?
Yeah.
Warren Beatty was dating Madonna, which means all the, like, will they, won't they stuff. I'm like, ew, it's like we're watching home movies of the two of them flirting with each other, which is just gross to me. Even taking into account that looks great and is definitely in her prime here, I was just like, ew, where she's like, it's because I'm bad. And he's like, maybe it is. And I'm like, gross.
Yeah.
You make this movie for kids, but like you guys were boning each other, so you're just like, hey, this will be a lot of sexual tension because we already have a lot of sexual tension. And it's like, gross. I don't know. There's so many things about this movie that, and again, I'll say the better version of this was made years later with Sin City. All the things that I feel like that Warren Beatty was trying to go for here, but the difference is that it wasn't heightened enough, right? Mm-hmm. So it gave you that uncanny valley.
Half of it was with the mask or the makeup and the characters that are exaggerated,
and then the other half of people look totally normal, and you're like, no, that's not right. Whereas you can say, okay, in Sin City, you can have characters that have tons of prosthetics, and those that don't are still in black and white, but the lips are red or the eyes are green, or there's something where you're like, hey, we're not in reality, you know? Yeah. Whereas here it was just like every time that you would turn to William Forsythe and you're like, dude, your head looks like a fucking butt plug. Like your head looks like it is, you are like a good actor. You have done really good movies in your life. And just look at yourself in the mirror. Look at what you look like.
I think everyone needs to do that.
Look at what you've decided to do. Like, again, did Beatty just call in all the favors that he'd had? Like,
this was his most successful movie he's ever directed. He hasn't directed a lot of things though either. So, but I think part of it is that he's hard to work with. But like, this is considered like his gem, I guess. Oh,
that's it. Throw in the towel, boys. It isn't getting any bigger than this one.
Have we seen anything other than Bulworth since Dick Tracy?
I mean, not really. I think, yeah, Bulworth. I mean, what else?
It's the Oscar curse, I'm sure.
Yeah. You gotta go out on a high note. I don't know. Final thoughts about Dick Tracy.
You know, I wasn't sure coming into this because this isn't the worst movie I've ever seen by many stretches, especially compared to the other Punishment Review movies that we've done.
That's fair.
But at the same time, I was wondering when we came in here if people were going to have problems with like having some attachment to this movie. But after talking about it, it's just like, okay, so this was ridiculous, right?
I mean, anyone who does think that they have that attachment, nostalgia is
blinded.
Listen, nostalgia is a very dirty window pane.
Powerful thing.
So you need to go back and you need to watch it again, and then I dare you to tell us that we're not right, because this movie was targeted towards children.
You're daring people. It's going to come out in the comment section. So
I will die. I will die on this hill. I will die on this hill. Dick Tracy sucks.
All right, you heard it here first. We're gonna put it on his tombstone.
Why did Grandpa Sherlock want Dick Tracy sucks on his tombstone? What's a Dick Tracy?
All right, thanks everyone for watching our punishment review of Dick Tracy.
Yes.
Appreciate you sticking around this long and listening. If you want to keep riding the ride with us, like and subscribe, and follow us in all the spaces and places where people find good media. Appreciate it. And
we'll be back next week with that one scene from There's Something About Mary.
That's right, and then we got a new fest we got to talk about.
That's right.
All right, thanks everyone.
Bye.